Welcome to the Lemme Finish podcast. This is episode 6. Last week we had Lie, so it was kind of a bit of a break from the story progressing. I also think this episode will be coming out on a Monday, so we're going to switch from just Thursdays to Mondays and Thursdays, so this will be the first episode of that. Thank you guys. If you've been consistently listening, if this is your first episode, you can go back and check out the rest of them. I tried my best to make a podcast that wouldn't become dated over time, so at any point, if you have interest in us and stumble back across this, you'll be able to listen to it and get to know us a little bit better. So the only new thing we brought up the last episode was the play. We were doing that for 6 or so weeks, so that did take up a lot of my time. I went from not being able to find a show for the 2 or 3 years that I was here, and then not being able to find a show when I lived in Michigan, to I feel like I was performing twice a week, if not every week. Swiggle put me on his Three Kings show to do Twistin' Up, the first song we did together, and then he let me do a couple of my solo songs. But it was from there on out, I was doing show after show after show. I did the Paris Theater, I did the Analog, I did the TARDIS Room a bunch of times, I did the Lounge with Swiggle. I did a few venues that I don't even think exist anymore, and I can't remember their names. And then my music video dropped for Channel, which is rough. And but I did get a lot of support, and I still get people bringing up that they followed me since then. So every little chapter had a meeting. The Three Kings show was right after. It was kind of like JC's reintroduction into performing. And I mean, he brings it up that the energy and passion that I had there was part of why he didn't think I was just some dude coming around his brother trying to get on. Like, he saw something too. Then there was the night of the Corvallis show, which is what I really, really wanted to talk about. It was like the first time Swiggle had offered me an opportunity that felt like, yo, this isn't just something that he's offering me. This is something bigger, because like it's traveling to another place. I got my own set, and he put my name out there when someone else was booking. It wasn't just something he was doing. I was really excited and honored. And I forget the name of the dude who booked it. I think it was like Nappy THC. He might have had a group, but he brought us out to Corvallis. I think it was called the Bombs Away Cafe. And Makes Waves, DC Capital, Mara Lacosta, Tag, me, Swiggle, Lie, and Timmy were there, I think. Maybe not Lie. He had left to go to Caldera at that point. But for sure the rest of those. And after the show was over, we wandered around Corvallis, because it's like a party town. So, we were wandering from frat building to frat building, and I feel like we were showing up as parties were ending each time, because we just kept wandering to the next one and the next one. And then we found another group of people that performed at the show that were doing the same fucking thing. So we just linked up with them and went to a park. It had play structures on it and shit. And we were just drinking in this park, standing on this slide and play place. And I had really wanted to talk to Makes Waves. I thought he was so talented and so cool. And we had booked him for our first show that we booked. So I was at least a little more acquainted with him. And I just like tried to talk to him, and we were all drinking, and I remember thinking him and DC Capital had just dropped a song that I thought was so tight, like, and there I was amongst these people, not just like I was begging to hear from them, like these were my peers, and Tag was still with me, so it felt like even though I was doing more solo stuff than I had planned on, I still had the fish around. But we ended up leaving that play structure, but before we did, Tag was like, no, I don't want to drink any Hennessy or alcohol. I got this little THC thing, and it had like a dropper thing in it, and he chugged the whole fucking thing. So I was like, I'm gonna have to babysit this fucking guy Tag for the rest of the night. We did find a party after that, so we leave the play place. We go to this frat party, and we're there for about an hour, and I realized that like I hadn't seen Tag, so me and Mara Lacosta started looking for Tag. And Mero, I feel like I've talked about him a few times, but he was a member of Swiggle's group La Familia. So was Lie and his two brothers, and Justin Joy at the time, and OZ. So me and Mero went out to look for Tag, and I feel like we backtracked to every frat party we went to, and none of them were open remotely anymore. He wasn't on the street outside of any of them. But then we looked back at the play structure, and we kind of saw a body laying on it, and their sprinklers were going off. So by the time we got over to Tag, he was just passed out asleep in that place, covered in water from the sprinklers. But that was a really big night. I remember feeling like that was the first time I felt seen, broader than just the few Portland people that were willing to talk to us. And we got to, be a part of something that meant a lot to a lot of those people. Makes Waves literally said, like, we're living in the good old days right now, or some shit to that extent. Like, this is one of those moments that we will think about, and I often do, because I'm still close to everyone in La Familia. Obviously, Makes Waves eventually became a Fish, and Tag's still one of my best friends. So that was one of those times where I was like, I'm somewhere, not even just not in Michigan where I'm from, not even just not in Portland where I moved, but just some city that I was brought along to, being able to share my art. So I've been really trying to pinpoint the timeline as correctly as I can. So I've been doing some intense research, and around this time is when me and Swiggle were trying to finish Fig and Swig. And Tag had just randomly, without telling me, recorded a hook over a beat. So the next time Swiggle came over to record, we always kind of let him choose the beat unless I had something super specific in mind. And Tag played a beat that had his vocals on it that he had produced, and that's the one that Swiggle picked, and it was called Bloody Knees. I think, if I'm thinking factually, technically the very first song that now would be considered an Antelope Fisherman song, because our rule is 3 or more members. If there's 3 or more of us, that's the Antelope Fishermen are present there. That's not just an artist featuring an artist, that's us. So Business may have been the one with me, Swiggle, and Lie. Now that Swiggle and Lie eventually became Fish, might technically be the first Fish song. I sometimes just count Bloody Knees because it has me, Tag, and Swiggle, who are all now Fish, but me and Tag were originally Fish, part of that OG lineup, so it feels like the first time anybody other than me from my group did something vocally. So Bloody Knees is, we've performed it on TV, we've performed it at like veterans memorials. It's a clean song, so it was one of those things where that was the only thing I could perform sometimes when Swiggle went to a place that required us to have clean audio, non-explicit at least. And I was just so proud that we gave Swiggle the option, and he still chose this thing that had Tag on it. We didn't even say it was him, so it felt like the art was getting a little bit better. I think that also may have been the very last song we made for Fig and Swig, and this is around the time that Justin Lafferty joined the Fish. And this is a trend of, there are a few people that have actually left the group. And then there's a few people who we just talk to much less, much less, and they never left and we never kicked them out, so I still consider them a part of the greater Fish family, Fish gang. And Lafferty's one of those guys. He drew the covers for like my first 4 or 5 albums. I worked with him at FedEx for a couple of years. He was in a band. He got me into my first couple of studios. He screamed vocals on the background of my first song with Bill Saber. We never had a falling out or anything. We just kind of took different paths, and it was really hard for him to be in a rap group. He was always just someone that was helping out with stuff. He was just a part of the greater Fish family. But he joined around this time, and so did this guy named Jay Casa, who is one of the few Fish who he can suck a dick. We did kick him out, but I'm not gonna censor anything on this podcast. It is the history. If you were watching a documentary that somebody else put together, they would talk about it. So at least you can hear it from me, my own words. So Bloody Knees was I believe the last song we made. So at that point on, it became a goal to get this thing out so that I could have something out, something to show for, some merch I could order, some CD to sell, fucking just something. And at that point, Tag had recorded the entire thing. He had beats on it and a feature on it. Ellis had mixed the entire thing. Nick, who still technically hadn't left the group, produced a few songs on it. And this is around the time that Nick officially left the group. I went and visited him one day and played him a few of the songs that me and Swiggle made and told him it was coming out, and was just trying to, like, I know we're distant, I know things are awkward, but I'm excited for the future. And he kind of, like, without being disrespectful, without being a piece of shit, he was just like, this is, like, I'm gonna have to resign. Like, any beats of mine you have, absolutely, I hope everything goes well. We've been trying to do this for 3 or 4 years now. But he was going to school, I was getting divorced from his sister still. I think technically it hadn't gone all the way through. It was just not meant to be, but that was when it got solidified. So he did produce 2 of the songs on the first Fig and Swig, and what's crazy is he produced a song on the newest Fig and Swig that just came out last year. I still had one of the songs that me and Swiggle were working on, and it ended up making it to the project still. So I don't know whether that guy thinks about me or us, but he still comes up in my brain every once in a while, and we wouldn't have the Fish without him. So I'm incredibly grateful for his short time in the Fish, and I have this Crim Snob tattoo for the thing that we started before that. So I'm glad that nothing ever went too negatively and we didn't have a falling out. So I get to remember him pretty fondly, and so do most of the Fish, honestly, whenever stories with Nick come up. So after the Corvallis show, Fig and Swig, we finished it with Bloody Knees, and then Swiggle brought me and Tag onto this public access show, and we performed it on TV. And I still have the footage from it saved somewhere, but it was so awkward but so hilarious. And again, one of those moments where I was like, yo, Swiggle has brought me and Tag onto television to do this. It just gave the Fish so much legitimacy, and I think that was around the time it started to also negatively affect us a little bit more in the grander scheme of Portland, because people were just like, who the fuck are these guys that just appeared and are all of a sudden, like, Swiggle was super well respected then, like, just I know he is more now and is on the cover of Willamette Week this week and stuff like that, but was always this great, powerful force that people felt like was inaccessible. Like, he's hard to get a hold of. He's hard to work with. He's hard to get into one place. He's very busy. He works very hard, and he cares about his time. And I could tell that some people, and there's also the fact that a lot of people just don't fucking like him. That's what comes with a lot of people knowing who you are. And Portland does have a big crabs in a bucket mentality, so they see somebody almost getting out and everybody wants to pull him down. Say what you want about the guy, but he's never done anything but put on for himself, the people around him in the city. But the negative connotation that comes with being the white guy in La Familia at the moment, and I wasn't in the group yet, I wasn't in his group, but it definitely felt like it with the amount we were hanging out and working together. We did have to experience some of the blowback, I think, from being able to get the pedestal he was putting us on, especially during a time when our music just wasn't that fucking good, and then also having to deal with the negative connotation that comes with the guy around Swiggle, because Swiggle's really just looking for hard work. Maybe less so now, but during that time, he just wanted people that were going to stick around, work hard, and he could help be a better artist. He knew I knew enough about music, enough about work, enough about recording, that he thought he could have influenced me to move in the right direction, and that's kind of where we started to go. I think immediately after recording this tape, I realized that I wasn't at a skill level to be able to match this guy's artistic ability, so we all had to start stepping it up from there, and we didn't even have the time to do that because he had us performing, and we were starting to get booked for our own shows. So I think we were planning to release the Fig and Swig album in around August, and the Fig and Swig album release party could probably and will probably be an entire episode in itself. So I'm going to stop here. I just wanted to take a quick second to thank y'all for listening to this. I'd like to thank Plunge Records. We're working on some Antelope Fisherman merch right now, and they're helping us out with that as always. And shout out to all the Fish, man. It's been inspiring to go back and see how far we've come and how far we have to go. But we'll continue next week, I think, with this week. This is the second. We're going to do 2 releases this week. So the Fig and Swig release party's next. thank y'all, and as always, before you interrupt me, let me finish.